I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of what we use to get our cocoa peat and cocoa chip. Is the cocoa chip the same situation?
Well, yeah, cocoa chip will go through exactly the same procedures. So, yeah.
Okay. So with the cocoa chip and the cocoa peat, first we soak it in it. So it'll come in a giant big 5 kg block, or depending on the size that you get from whichever grow store, builders you decide to purchase your cocoa peat from, it'll come normally in a big hard block, which looks a bit like this one.
This one right here, yeah.
So it'll look like this. It's hard and dry and comes in like a big hard square. So what you got to do is you soak it in a bucket of water.
Yes.
So we put a solution of Flash Clean in the water, which is, we use this one. There's a couple of different products, but we just like to use this one. It cleans it really, really well and gets all the salts and conditions the soil very nicely. We use an amount of, what is the
It's 1.5 milliliter per liter.
So 1.5 mils per liter. And then we will put it in a bucket of water until the cocoa has absorbed most of the water, and you'll see it turns into a big, it completely expands, and you'll see all the little fibers kind of separate and puff out, and you'll have a big set of, a nice big bucket of cocoa peat, which will be very wet. Once it's wet, then we move it across to, we drain it and squeeze it
first, yeah.
We'll show you that process in a minute. And then it goes, once it's squeezed and drained, it goes into another bucket we use CalMag Essential. This is from Umia. There's a couple of products. I know TA also sells a CalMag. There's a few other CalMag companies. We like this one. We've used it. It works well. And we use...
Well, with this one, I'll use 5 milliliter per 10 liters of water.
5 mils per 10 liters.
Yes.
Jean does this frequently and is well experted at how it all works.
Yes. For this is the 1.5 mil per liter of water, so it works out to 52.5 mils.
So there we go.
5 liters of water.
So that'll go in there. Give it a swirl. And then we're going to just dump the whole block in there, hey?
Yes, just don't push it down because it won't make it go faster.
Okay.
It actually slows the process. So you just put it in like this and just leave it.
And then walk away. Walk away, and then we'll update you once it's all nice and puffy, and we'll show you the cleaning, draining process, and then how we move it over to that bucket.
Right, so you see it's all been rehydrated. It's got quite a bit of water in it, which is what you want. This is obviously the first bucket with the Flash Clean salt clearing solution. And it's important to have quite a bit of water because when you scoop it and put it onto your tray with the shea cloth or whatever you're going to use to drain it, you want the water to go through the bottom and it will rinse the salts out as you do it. So let's do the first scoop. So yeah, got quite a bit of water in here, and then you'll go to the tray with your shea cloth and rinse it. I added it to my tray with shea cloth, and you can see the water is flowing out through the bottom. That is what you want, and that will help clear the salts out of the cocoa peat. So I put from the first bucket the cocoa peat into my tray, and what I'm going to do is next I'm going to transfer it to the bucket that contains the CalMag solution, because all the salts have already now rinsed out because of the salt clearing solution. Right, so I have drained this first lot. Okay, with this first lot you do not... Oh, there's a spider in the water. Let me just help it get out. Come on. Now, why are you jumping off? Where are you? Still in the water? There you go. Right, just had to save a spider. Right, so you will add it to your CalMag water. And you let it soak for about 20 minutes. Right, so it has been soaking in the CalMag solution. This is not all of it. This is just a small batch because it is easier to do it batch by batch. So I'm going to scoop it out and I'm going to transfer it to my draining tray. And then you'll let the water run out, and after the water has run out, the next process will start, which is picking up handfuls, squeezing out the water until it's dry like that, and adding it to a bucket for use. Right, so I have squeezed out all of the water and it is now ready to use. You can also just transfer it into a breathable bag. That will be perfect, and you can keep it for as long as you need to. Just remember to hydrate your pot when you've used drier media. Okay, so for the aroid mix that I make, I use 6 parts of Coco Peat in a 10-litre bucket. I'll use 6 of these buckets. Next ingredient for the aroid mix is cocoa chip. So the cocoa chip will go through exactly the same process as the Coco Peat, except you do not have to squeeze the water out. It's quite impossible to do that. It will take you days. So that will be the next ingredient, and how I would add it is for every 6 parts of Coco Peat, you will add 2 parts cocoa chip. So cocoa chip is quite important in the mix. Of course, you can hear the huddy-duzz in the background. Very important in the mix because it provides aeration and drainage, and it also holds moisture at the same time. So that will be added, as I said, 2 parts for every 6 parts of Coco Peat. Right, so I added 6 parts Coco Peat and the 2 parts of cocoa chip. So next we've got perlite, which is the next ingredient going in. For every 6 parts of Coco Peat, you'll use 1 part of perlite. And perlite is there to provide aeration to the mix. So the next ingredient is vermiculite or vermiculite. This only provides the media with moisture, but when you work with this, make sure you have very clean hands because cyanobacteria really loves this stuff. So you might mistake your algae for just algae, but sometimes it's cyanobacteria. So just be careful when working with this. Make sure you have quite clean hands, meaning that don't work with any food or oils or anything like that when you work with vermiculite. Okay, so I measure out the vermiculite according to the perlite. So for every part of perlite that you add half the amount of what there is of the perlite. So I used a full bucket of perlite and then half a bucket of vermiculite. So after adding those 4 ingredients, you'll have a basic media mix. This will be mixed in soon. Now I'm going to introduce you to the additives that I use. I just used 3 additives. So let's start with the first one. The first one is dried kelp. So dried kelp is quite good for media because it helps with rooting. Like any kelp product, you know that it has cytokinins and auxins and all those fabulous acids and hormones that help root plants. So I'll add about a half a cup, which is then followed by zeolite. Zeolite is just there to just provide a little bit more minerals to the media. Perfect. And then the last one is activated carbon. Activated carbon is great because it helps to keep the media fresh. It's like an antioxidant basically. But with this, I would use about, let's say, half a cup per 10 liters. And then when that has been added, I will mix the media very well because the cocoa tends to sit at the bottom, and then you won't have an even. When you get to the bottom of the mix of the tub, you tend not to have an even media at the bottom. So some plants tend to rot or just retain too much moisture because it has more cocoa peat than chip and perlite. But yeah, that's the general idea. So I've mixed the media, and this is what you'll be left with. Isn't it beautiful? Nice aerated media that is now ready for use. Thank you so much. I hope this video was instructive. Oh, also in terms of the zeolite, will be the same as the charcoal, about a half a cup per 10 liters. Right, so I can get started potting up on some Syngonians.